everyone, I'm Holly. I am the maker and doer of all the things here at Missouri River Soap, and today I'm making soap. It's my most favorite thing to do here at Missouri River Soap, and I have just come out to my studio. I am fresh out here, so this is my status. Well, I did pop out this morning to melt my hard oils because I had them pre-measured. I had hoped to make them a couple of days ago, but one, I didn't have time, and two, I decided to take a day off for a change. So I've got two pots here with my melted coconut, mango, kokum, and shea butter. These are not the pots that I'm going to use, so I will be transferring. In the back, I've got my molds. I do have to clean out any leaked soap before I line them, which my liners are already cut and everything. I did that the other day too. I've got some lye solution that I just checked on, and they've got some pretty good crusties on them, so we'll have to strain that out. And so yeah, I am just going to prep. I only have about 2.5 hours to work today, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I can get a couple of batches done. But if I can get one done, I'll be happy. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in my scale. And I just kind of clean as I go. I clean when I put things away. I clean when I get them back out again. Just to make sure everything is nice and clean and ready to go. My puppy is laying out here waiting for me, but he's in the snow and he's just so happy. He is a snow dog. I do. So cute. So I had to go unbury these because I just washed all my soap dishes. And so I always like to just kind of give them a little wipe down, get the water spots off. My fingers seem to be always greasy. Obviously, I just handled this, so now my hands are a smidgen greasy, so I'm leaving grease marks from the oils. I have two pots here, and you know something I like to do is weigh my pots and write them on. I don't think I have them written on these two, so let's do that. Alright, so this is the big one. This is a 16 quart. It's a little bit large. I don't actually need this size for this batch. I need to get another one of these. So this one is 81.8 ounces. And what this does is allows me, and this Sharpie usually stays on pretty good, but we'll see if it does this time. This allows me to double check as I've gone along. So then I know what my pot weighs. I know what's inside too. And then this one is the 12 quart, which actually works the best for what I'm doing right now. This is a 67.3. 67.3. I have some that I wrote on in Sharpie clear back in Missouri years and years ago, and it still stays so. That's why I'm doing that. The first thing I'm going to do is add the sodium lactate to each one. And sodium lactate just is, I think they get it from beets actually. And it helps to harden the soap bar. Sometimes if you have a soft soap, especially if you don't use a ton of hard oils, it will help to kind of just make it a more solid soap. But also they use sodium lactate in like lotions and stuff, so it's really nice just on its own. I love adding it to soap. My soap recipe would be just a little bit soft without the sodium lactate. Gotten so many supply orders in that I had to go digging for my oils. So this is going to be castor oil. Now castor oil does give it the bubbles, and oh, so good. I love castor oil. So now will I be able to get off this electrical tape? Yeah. Alright, so this batch, I guess they're both from Wholesale Supplies Plus right now. I had a big one come in either before the end of the year or right at the beginning of the year. Can't remember, but I made a video on it. And I am out and have new stuff in. Alright, tear my scale. And I need to finish off this castor oil. I did panic purchase some butters. Mango butter is getting hard to come by. Kokum butter, hard to come by. Most of my suppliers don't have either one of those. So this time I panic purchased from Wholesale Supplies Plus because they still had some mango. They still had some mango butter. And then, but they didn't have any Kokum or shea. So I panic purchased from Shea and Company, and I got Kokum and some shea. I thought I went over there for a minute when I was yammering. Scared me greatly. I'm not adding apricot to these batches today because I did run out, and I'm using them pretty hefty in my other products. And so I decided that I just kind of go back to my pre-apricot recipe, which is equally as lovely, and maybe save myself that for my body butters and stuff like that, the oils. Alright, castor's done. So now I need to do olive oil. I need to make a decision because my olive oil I mix with my colors. So I usually hold back about an ounce of olive oil per color. So I think I'm going to make this smaller pot is going to be Moonberry Blush. So I probably want to save back 4 ounces. So that's going to take one of these olive oil containers. I'll save, let's see if this one's even been opened. This one's not been opened yet, so it's going to take this and a little bit extra. My Doberman is also outside trying to fire up my 3rd dog. Yes, we have 3 dogs. It's a little bit much, but 3 is also a very happy balance because there's always somebody to play with. So like Ripley, he likes to play with my dog a lot. They're buddies. But he also really likes to play with Shelby because she's a big dog. So there's that. But she's getting old and she doesn't really like him to smack her around like he does. He's pretty rough. He's not that old. He's only 4, I think. And he's a big hefty boy. So now if I don't get to this second one, so these are exactly 96 ounces. If I don't get to my second batch, then I'm going to have to reheat the whole shebang, which is a lot more persnickety because I have to wait then for the whole thing to cool back down. And that can be such a pain. Alright, so the small pot has its sodium lactate, castor oil, and olive oil. Now I don't normally operate in all 4 pots. These 2 that I'm going to use to actually make the soap were dirty, so I had used 2 other pots to go ahead and get my hard oils measured and melted. So that's actually working in my favor today because I'm not going to mix my hard oils yet into the liquid oils until I know for sure I'm making the batch. Otherwise, reheating an entire thing can be a pain. It doesn't really take that long, but it takes a lot longer for the entire thing to come back to temperature. I much prefer to melt my hard oils and then put my liquid into it to cool them back off. I'm going to do the exact same on this one, even though I'm not quite sure what my colors are going to look like because I'll just add it all the way back in. I actually don't feel any heat on this, so I am not going to mix the liquid and the hard together quite yet, but wow, they're ready to go. Alright, so my soap batch is 200 ounces of oils, and don't you like my adorable calculator. I decided I was tired of going to the computer, trying to grab my phone and get calculations. I was just going to have a calculator. So 200 ounces divided by 4 colors. So that's 50 ounces divided by 16. I have just over 3 pounds per color. So that means that I can use 3 to 6, my phone's doing something, 3 to 6 teaspoons of micas. So let me think of what I'm going to do. Alright, so for Moonberry Blush, which is I'm hoping to be the first one I make today, I am going to use some Purple Vibrance, Ultramarine Blue, Drama Queen Mica, and then I'm going to use some Zero Gravity. So I was laying in bed the other morning thinking of nothing soap related, and I get, you know, like in the movies they'll do like I literally am just looking out my window and one of our trees is tagged, and I remember not ever seeing that in that color. Weird. My husband's trying to gather the dogs, and my dog is like, I do not want to go. Anyway, so I was laying in bed, and then like the movies where you have like the TV screen glitch, and it just like popped into my head. That's how usually I get all my soap designs. It's not something I've really thought about a lot. I just get like a split second and it's here, and now I'm putting it in soap. So I decided I would do my Moonberry Blush. So I want it to be this medium blue, kind of like a pinky purple, and then purple, and then the blush part of my Moonberry. So I have a Moonberry that I put in wax, and I believe I've done it in a spray, and also Moonberry Blush. So the blush part is heavy on the vanilla. It's going to go dark, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to use the black for that section because I just think that's going to be a really pretty soap. We're going to have the purple, the pink, and the blue with black. I just think that sounds so good. And this is sparkly too. I don't know if you could, I can get you over there. Anyway, it's a little bit sparkly. It doesn't really come through very well. I got a text that says, the boys are inside. It's clear on my windowsill over there. I got an angry face about my dog because he would have been happy just laying in the snow for hours. But he had to go inside so he could be monitored. I am going to put my mask on. Micas are highly airborne, and they have titanium dioxide in them. And because of that, they're on California's Proposition 65 list. So once they're mixed into oil and such, it drops off of California Proposition 65 list. So I'm just going to wear my mask, I'm going to take care of my lungs, and I'm going to mix up my colors. Mix up my Ultramarine Blue with water. So that means I need to add another ounce of olive oil back into my main batch. It'll be a little bit off, so the ratios will be off just a smidgen, but as far as the entire batch, it's all there. I am not going to prepare my other colors yet. I don't have that quite decided. So I'll do that here in just a little bit, if I get to make it. Alright, I'm scenting this batch at 5%. That's typically what we do unless IFRA standards does not allow it. I'd never ever go over 5, and a lot of times I do 4, but I'm doing 5 on this one. And my main scent for this one is Vampire's Kiss from Hive and Honey, and it's so amazing. And it's ripe red, strawberries, jasmine blooms, dark plum. I've never soaped it, so I'm kind of scared. Or have I soaped it? I have soaped it. I have soaped it. not on its own, but in a blend. So don't remember what that one was now. I'd have to look at my notes. So I'm splitting it into 4. I am only putting the secret ingredient in my blush section in 1/4. And then the rest will be the Moonberry portion. So finishing off this bottle. Oh, so close. Just needed a smidgen more out of there. Okay, there's my fragrances. All right, so my lye solution is a 32% lye concentration. I have pulled back from that even further. So my lye has been mixed with water from this batch. But also part of that water is my coconut milk, my sodium lactate, and I've still pulled out more water in case I used a titanium dioxide today. I'm not going to do that, so I will add that water back in with my coconut milk, because 32 is already getting lower on the water side of things. So actually I'm going to use a little bit of that water and put in just a smidgen more coconut. So I'm going to do 5 ounces of coconut for this batch. And then I'm going to add some water into that. I will put that in a jar and refrigerate it if I can't get to my other batch. So we're just going to add a little bit more water to this, and I'm going to have to make space in my refrigerator area. That is not what I meant to say at all. My microwave area, the microwave, so that I can heat this up. And that's going to help break up those clumps. I don't heat it up a lot, but I just do like to break up the clumps, and then when they go into the room temp oils, it doesn't solidify, etc. I do like that to be a bit warm. Alright, so I need to do my mold still. So I want to get these out of the way. I have my second mold, finally, that I've been using. This didn't have handles on it yet, though. So we're going to put that one back. And then I'm going to clean this out. I like to keep these little plastic, I don't know what they're for, putty knife type things around, though I still have a hard time getting into the corners. But I do try to clean them up the best that I can. But the molds are always just going to have a little residual on them. I try to line my molds well enough that it doesn't leak, but it still happens. So I have, ooh, I've got some oil. I do not like oil being on my paper. So this particular mold is made out of tongue and groove, as it would be. Oh, there's some soap on the bottom. Anyway, my son made this out of tongue and groove. Now, normally we would buy these sections of hardwood at like Lowe's, but we had all these tongue and groove pieces, and we said, let's give it a try. And so it works quite nicely. So the bottom does have the groove, but that doesn't matter for the inside. So for this particular one, it is 18 inches long. I like all my molds at 18 because that's the size of freezer paper. So 18 inches long. This section here is 8 inches. So I have 3 loaves at 2.5 inches, and that allows me about 1/4 inch on each side to slice off. Now, would I have preferred it to be a bit wider? Yes, I would have, because that's where I like to slice off the edge and then cut up for samples. They're not really sample worthy because it's so thin, but the measurements at 8 inches worked out very nicely. So we just went with it. And then these are the same cabinet pulls that we're using in our kitchen. So that's fun. So I just have my little paper already measured out. I'm gonna flip these. Yeah, you can see. All right, I'm gonna flip these in. And I do have a mold lining video. Still have my gloves on, but I can't really do much with my gloves on. So then I just keep a tape dispenser with some masking tape. And I do go ahead and have these inside flaps instead of cutting them off because it does help to protect the mold. Now this is so close to being tall enough to go over the edge, but it's just not there. I choose to use another piece because again, it's going to help protect my mold. And I like the thickness of it. Sometimes I have to fold it in just a smidgen inside the line so it fits inside the other one. I don't worry too much about if this is pulled up a little bit because again, I'm slicing that off and that's part of why I do it. I just love a nice crisp edge. I don't want to have two of my loaves be like really curved in. So let's see, it's been darn near an hour already, so we'll see what I get accomplished this day. I'm going to use my 3000 ml. Now somebody did correct me on that and say that you're supposed to say mils. But I did some little bit of research and mils is also a unit of measurement of some sort here that can cause a confusion. So I know everywhere else you say mils, but it is actually fairly standard for us to say ml in the US. Even though I know we don't say OZ for ounces, which, where does ZZ even come from? Anyway, we come from different places. We say different things. Okay, I think I'm very close to getting started here. I'm going to transfer the oils, but I do want to measure to make sure that, or weigh them to make sure everything is appropriate. So, this one we said was 67. The pot is 67. So, I know what it needs to be in the end. Doberman came out and he was saucy. All right. Whoops. Okay, I'm taking note of what my hard oil number is. And my, yes, just my hard oils. Did I just ruin another shirt? You probably think I have very boring clothing, but these are my work shirts and they wear out fairly quickly, so I'm due for another round of colors. But I splatter so much oil in everything I do that I'm not going to wear any other shirts while I'm out here working. Okay, so now I know what that is, and that's exactly right. Nice. I just like to do that little check on myself. I have my stick blender here. It is a KitchenAid, which is no longer available, which is such a bummer because it had the super long shaft, which they broke. I had two of them. and they both have broken, which is a bummer. But that was my fault because for some reason those tall ones just went onto the floor, and that's when it broke both times. If I had not allowed that to happen, I would have been fine. Wipe off all this extra oil before it solidifies. Alright, I think I'm pretty much ready. I'm going to go get my other camera set up and then we'll get started making this soap. Okay, so I have my other camera set up, and I have to just tell you that I know a lot of you like the overhead more so what I had back in Missouri. That view makes me nauseous nowadays. I can't watch any videos with more of an overhead view, so I apologize, but it is what it is, or else I won't be able to make the videos. So should we check the temperature of the oils so you have an idea of what's happening here? My oils are at 66, which my room temperature is 62, so that's pretty good still. So my coconut oil, I popped in the microwave for about 30 seconds. So it's nice and warm. All the bits and bobs have incorporated. So yay. And I'm going to go ahead and mix in the coconut milk into my oils. That's just how I roll. And I will say that I am swirling to avoid the tap, 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 because I know that can be annoying, but sometimes you just have to tap, tap, tap to get the air out of the shaft. Alright, so here we have my lye solution. And looky here. Can you see this? This is called Lye-Lint, and why I call them crusties. The deal with the Lye-Lint, it is just a natural reaction from the sodium hydroxide to the air, and it creates these little crusties. When you're going to experience that more, I can take my goggles off because I'm working with the lye, but they're fogging up already. When you're going to run into that is when you reduce the water. If this was like a 30% lye concentration or even 28, it wouldn't have the Lye-Lint like this. Additionally, it was a very cold day and I had my window cracked. It cooled a lot quicker than it normally would. And so the reduction and the temperature all contributes to that. Now I'm going to strain it out. It's not going to amount to much. And anything that it does alter the recipe will be in a slight super fat is all. So all in all, it's fine. Okay, you do that. And so we're just going to strain that out so that it doesn't stay in the soap in this form in any way. If it were not to break down, that would be so discouraging to have these lye pockets in the soap. Now a lot of us reduce the water, so one, the bars are harder quicker, but also to help prevent glycerin rivers and such. And so we naturally do reduce it. A lot of people start with the 40% of oil business. Whew, that's a lot. Water percent is oil, that's a lot. Work in lye concentration. And if you're a newer soap maker, for goodness sakes, get used to a lye calculator working in percentages. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this blended to emulsification. I need to use my little spatula so I don't have to scrape the bottom. If I was by myself, I'd scrape the bottom with the stick blender. I'm looking for all the oils to be blended in. Now, I know that with my recipe that I am going to come to emulsification and then it's going to get a little bit grainy. It's the temperature It's my butter blend, and that's fine. I know that I'm going to continue to blend it out, so I'm not concerned about it for my particular batch. Now I don't want to take it too far because I do want to work with it. I want to add my color. I want to add my fragrance and still be able to have a nice pour. My husband's off cleaning up the snow off the trailer, so if you hear clanking, we're headed to get some supplies here soon. So it just now started, and I don't know if you can tell, but it just now started. I'm trying a different angle. I kind of like this angle from this other camera here. Oh my goodness gracious. Alright, so I'm going to go, I guess, 2 liters. I'm pretty sure this was my 8-liter batch. Nowadays. Let's go a smidgen under. Can easily be remedied, but the part I don't enjoy is scraping the spout if I do have to change it. Yep, that is correct. I love the smell of fresh raw soap. It smells so good. Nothing else is in it. Let me tell you what I've decided I don't like. I have determined that I do not like the smell of extra virgin coconut oil, like what you get at Costco. I tried that for a little bit, and there's a little bit in some of these batches that doesn't really shine through in the final product, but I have decided that I do not care for that. I love the smell of coconut milk, my coconut fragrances. I love those. The coconut oil, I don't know, it just does something to me. I don't like it. Here's hoping that I have mixed up my colors in a nice manner, measured them appropriately, and that our colors are not completely wackadoodle here in this batch. Let's start with the black just because I want to. It's probably going to be more charcoaly, but in the end, with the discoloration, that should be real nice. And it may lean more to a brown overall. That's also okay. Alright, this is just the purple vibrant. So for this I mixed 2 teaspoons of the Zero Gravity. And then this one is 3 teaspoons. I have 3 teaspoons of this one and also the Drama Queen. I was all excited to get that one thinking it was new, and then it turned out to be pretty much the same as Flash Dance from Mad Micas that I actually already had. So then this is the Drama Queen. Because these are my batch oils, I do want to scrape them as much as possible. Now this is the Ultramarine with water. Why do I do water? Because that's how I was taught to do water. I think that some people mix them with oils, but I don't know. They can sometimes have specklage, so try to get that stirred up nicely. And I don't know how much of this one I'm going to do. I think I'll mix put in about half, and then we'll see. This one does have to be blended with a stick blender for sure. I'm gonna add it. I did 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of water. Yeah, see, that's what I want. I want that color. Unfortunately, it's just gonna have to stay there kind of for a moment. All right, we'll stir these up. I wasn't quite sure on the purple. That flash was very fast. I'm pretty sure the blue is what I want and the pink is going to be what I want. The purple was kind of just I don't know, it wasn't a very important color in the whole scenario. All right, that looks great. So I need to be prepared to start working with the fragrance. So that means I need this to be mixed in all the way. So it'll mix in a little bit more with the stick blender. And I do think that I want the purple to have a little bit of darkness to it, so I will mix it after the black. Although, it just occurs to me the black is going to have a different color or a different fragrance with vanilla, so it needs to go last. So here we go. We'll do this away. You will be last, my friend. Now he is hooking up the truck. This microphone does actually pick up an awful lot, so. Alright, so here's hoping that this goes well, because I do want it to just kind of set for me for a minute. I'm wanting very big, gloppy swirls. Alright, this is looking good. So that's fine. We'll do that. And I don't always go after every last bit of fragrance. I know that drives you bonkers. I don't want to take the time to scrape. If it's going well, then a lot of times I do come back and just scrape it in and you just don't see that part. Alright, so these are looking to be doing very well. So we will get a good read on how Vampire's Kiss performs on its own. Alright, so looking here, this is very thin. So because I didn't overdo it in the beginning and I allowed it to thin out here, or get thick there without really working out all that graininess, now it's in a very good position. I mean, that would actually be really pretty, is a thin one. Sometimes when you have a thin pour, that can be very nice. So we're coming to a trace there. Of course, that one had a little bit more blending than these did. All right, so now let's put in the special one, and here's hoping that it's not wonky. Boy, it's a thick one. It is getting close to a syrup, it feels like. That is, oh, and it smells amazing. Why does it make me think of Christmas? That's weird. Shouldn't. Alright, that's looking good. That did go to a gray. If it doesn't discolor, it should discolor a lot. But if it doesn't for some reason, fine. I'm really getting into this moon, so this is Moonberry Blush. I've been mixing some other ones, like Stargazing. I have, like Moonlit Serenity is something I have in the works, and oh, so good. So good. Wow, this is performing very well. This one is all right. It's not too thick or anything. Well, I'm tempted to work with it really thin, because that can be really fun. Alright, so I've been doing a little bit of cleanup, and this is actually thickening up just a little bit. Maybe not as much as I thought it was. Stirring them out really thins them a lot of the time. Alright. Let's get prepared. Now, Moonberry Blush to me is kind of a different version of like a vibe you would get from Pink Sugar. So where Pink Sugar is supposed to be like cotton candy and, you know, that type of a vanilla scent, this to me is just like a dark berry sugar, and I love it so much. I like to make a perfume, and that's what I use. I'm going to start in with this, well, it's kind of gray now at this point. But you know what? I am going to do about half. And there are some sparkles in there. I don't know if you can really tell that. I'm just going to do my usual zigzaggy pour. It's my favorite. I love that look. So because the black went in first, it is kind of becoming the base, the anchor to the whole thing. So here's hoping that it doesn't get too wonky, right? So sometimes the vanilla fragrance will discolor the colors around it when it's really dark and kind of make a halo. This is probably not anywhere near this zap of design that I got in my brain, but it's still very pretty because I just wanted the Moonberry blush to be in there as opposed to just making the Moonberry this time. But I may still do that design as the just plain Moonberry. I think that would be neat. Now I'm just really hoping that this one will go ahead and discolor, kind of a black color. And I'm going to put it all in because I don't necessarily want it on the top. And that's just because discolored tops can be weird. I have my Jitterbug soap coming up, and I like that because it's coffee. Whoops. Anyway, I've done a stargazing soap, and that was just really dark blue and kind of black. It did have the zero gravity in it. It's really so fun. So you can see how this Vampire's Kiss is still nice and thin. Try to remember to go leave a review on that. Usually by the time I wait for a soap to cure so that I can really see how it does and how it performs in cold process soap, I forget about it altogether. And so I'm very bad about leaving reviews with cold process soap notes. But I do realize that that could actually be a very helpful thing for other makers. I think I'm actually going to switch gears and have purple on the top of the Moonberry portion. We just got our truck fixed yesterday. It was making this horrible clonking sound and couldn't figure out what in the heck. It had happened right after we had the tires rotated. And our neighbor's a mechanic. He looked at it and he was like, well, it's something with the four-wheel drive, but he even wasn't quite sure what to do about that. And then it turned out to be that we also have manual locking hubs. And when they did the tire rotation, they had locked in just the left one, not the right. And so we've been putting it in and out of 4-wheel drive, and it's definitely noticeable when it's in and out of 4-wheel drive, but I guess with it half in and half out, it was just, we didn't notice. And my husband's like, oh my goodness, why didn't he think of that? He didn't even think about the fact that the manual 4-wheel drive, the hub could have been locked in. We know now. We know now. Oh, it's noon. I don't think I'm going to make the other soap batch today, just because I still have to clean up and I don't want to be rushed. Being rushed is not fun. Somebody said to get some Rain-X and use it on my goggles, and I have not done that yet. But man, I am fogged up. So what I think I'll do, we'll see. But as of right now, I'm thinking I will do a kind of like a part series. And we'll make this one, and then we'll make the other soap, which I think is going to be a matcha lemonade. And then we'll cut them together. I think that would be fun. I think I'm just going to leave it like this, although, like, I'm tempted to do some glitter, but I don't think I will. I feel like the Moonberry blush is a grown-up sweet scent, and so I'm not going to. So look. Is that pretty? Yeah, I think it turned out nicely. It'll be fun to see the inside. Was not the design that had popped up in my head. Whew, it got hot under there. It is not the design that popped into my head, but I still can do that at another time. I'll just have to think on that one just a little bit more, because this is an easygoing fragrance. So we'll just have to see what I do. All right, so now I'm going to clean up my mess, and then I'll probably be back tomorrow to make the other soap, but it'll probably be in a part 2. So I'll see you on that video.